is DB Pollen from AmbientVibes.com. Today I want to talk something about matrix mixing. So what is matrix mixing? How can it benefit you either in performing live or recording in the studio? And then I want to demonstrate a module by AI Synthesis, the AI008 MatrixMixer, that Abe from AI Synthesis was very kind enough to send me. This mixer is an essential tool in any setup where you want to have complicated signal paths going to either different FX modules or different modulations, being able to reroute them to different modules on the fly, being able to attenuate, adjust the gain of each of those, and really just make a patch a little bit more complex than you would normally do by simply pouching from one VCO, say, into one FX, into your mixer, so on and so forth. The reason why a matrix mixer for me is so important is because I like using a lot of FX, either in live performances or recording in the studio. And I only have a limited number of modules that, for example, can do reverb or do delays or whatever. And I like using those modules for more than one voice coming through my system. But what I don't want to have to do, and you especially don't want to do during the live performance, is unpatch and patch a new module into that FX while you're still going. It doesn't work that well. Believe me, tried it, didn't go there. Now that's a oh crap moment in the making. So what a matrix mixer will do is that it acts as a signal router. You'll be able to send in this case, 4 different signals into the matrix mixer, and it'll go out different paths depending upon which of the pots that you turn to let the signal through. So what I've been doing until now without a matrix mixer is I've been patching into a multiple. Basically, I take each VCO, well, up to 4 in the case of this multiple, patching it into the multiple, taking the first output of the multiple directly into the mixer, that's the raw sound, and then patching another one into another port of the multiple going into an FX and another one into another FX back into the mixer. I mean, it works. And if you use a mutes or a selective switch like DivKid's mutes, you can select only one multiple FX to happen at a time. And it does work to some extent. But the problem with that is that you end up with this massive spaghetti wires all going all over the place. You lose track of your signal path. You're ending up having to trace cables in the middle of performance, and it's just a mess. It really is a mess. It kind of keeps you out of the rhythm, having to keep track of that signal path. So what a matrix mixer will do is become almost like a switchboard where you'll be able to take the signals in one place, have them come out one place, and going into your different FX. And it works quite well. It's a very good performance tool. And I believe this module is an excellent example of exactly this type of concept at work. So without further ado, let me get into the module. Okay, let's get into a basic patch and see what this module is all about. This is the AI008 MatrixMixer. So from top to bottom, the channels 1, 2, 3, and 4 are arranged horizontally, actually. So you have channel 1, which comes up here, and this is coming from a WMD spectrum. Channel 2, this is coming from a Pittsburgh Lifeforms primary oscillator. Channel 3 is coming from a Platts in the dual waveform mode. And channel 4 is coming from a telharmonic, make noise telharmonic. So if we turn up each individual channel, you'll start to hear them. And you can see it on the on channel 1 on the data. So it's just a basic triangle wave. Channel 2. Channel 3. And lastly, the telharmonic, channel 4. So obviously, in this case, channels 1, 2, 3, and 4 are being summed to the output A on the bottom here, as you see on the green trace. This just makes the matrix mixer function as a normal summing mixer. The fourth output is going to be a sum of all three of these channels. So each channel is going to provide 1/3 amplitude coming out at the end there. Same thing for channel 2. And channel 3. So again, channels 1, input 2, 3, 4, outputs channels A, B, C, and this channel, I guess it would be D, is A plus B plus C. I don't know if you can see that there. So that is the sum of all three of those channels into a fourth one, which is going to be quite useful, and we'll get into that later. Now, obviously, the main purpose of the matrix mixer is not just to function as an audio mixer, is to be able to act as a signal router, so that each of these channels can send a different signal to each of the outputs. Okay, so we'll get into patches later, but if oscillator 1 is sending straight to the mixer, oscillator 2 is sending to a reverb, for example, oscillator 3 needs to go to the reverb, oscillator 4 to a delay. That's how you would do it. So we'll get into that patch in a second here. So if we were to turn up all three of these channels at the same time, all you're going to hear, obviously, is going to be the sum of everything. And there you have it. So again, that is the matrix mixer at its most basic form, functioning purely as an audio mixer. But that's not the true strength of it. And let's get into a couple patches showing where you can go with this audio mixer, with this matrix mixer. Okay, so for our first patch, I'm going to show you how the matrix mixer can be used to take 4 inputs of signals and mix them to different effects on the outputs A, B, and C. Again, output D, if you want to call it that, is the sum of all 4 of the input channels. And in this case, I don't have it going through any effects, although I do have an effect coming from my send returns in my mixer going into monsoon. So, on the first channel, channel 1, we have, again, the WMD. Now you notice there's no effects coming out on this, even though I have this plugged into a reverb, the 2HP verb. That is because right now I only have channel 4, or channel D, turned up in my mixer. So if you want to audit a channel and hear what it sounds like, you simply keep the other 3 channels in your mixer fully attenuated, and you can hear what's coming on the summed output. That's also good in another way, and I'll show you why right now. So if I turn up channel 1 on my mixer, which is the out of the verb, you'll hear the reverb coming in. Now what's neat about this is that you can use this mixer as kind of a wet-dry. Since the summed output is coming out of channel 4, channel D, and it's not going through any effects, if I turn up the 4th channel on my mixer, I get more of the dry signal coming in. So that 4th sum channel is actually quite useful. You can adjust the wet and the dry. Fully wet, fully dry, and a balance between the two. Now, of course, this will only work for all 4 channels at the same time if you have all 4 channels turned up. Let me get this back here. So, on the 2nd channel, flats. I can hear the reverb coming through. On the third channel, I have the telharmonic. And on the fourth channel, I have the Pittsburgh Lifeform primary oscillator. I do have some modulation going through. It's timbre attenuator, and I can turn that on with, I have about Batumi sending an LFO through DivKid's mutes, and I can turn it on and off for some added modulation. So on the second output, again, the same 4 oscillators, but this time I have them going through the retromechanical GP1 external pedal interface, and that's going into my MS-70 CDR, which has the lo-fi effect stack on it. You can probably hear the vinyl in the background. So if I turn up this, harmonic, and the Pittsburgh Lifeform. Now the last effects that I have, which is on channel C's output, is going to my DLD, my dual delay by 4MS. As I turn that up, so that's the MatrixMixer, sending out, again, 4 oscillators to 3 effects, and then some on the final output, which you can use as a wet-dry mix. So let's turn up a little bit and have a little bit of fun here. Sequence is coming from an Eloquencer. possible, I want to get more into an ambient track. I'm going to focus on the reverb channel and possibly the lo-fi, turning down the delay. So that's essentially using the MatrixMixer as a send to the different effects, which is probably one of the more common uses for it. The MatrixMixer, it's I believe it is 8 HP. It's small enough where it can very easily fit into a performance rack, and the utility abilities that it provides are just tremendous for its size. Now, Abraham over at AI Synthesis says that the AI008 module should be ready to be released next week, so that'll be the week after Labor Day here in the U.S. I haven't heard a price point yet, but I think it's going to be pretty reasonably priced for considering all that it does. He's also going to be providing some example patches that he's shown to me. And some of these patches are going to be good examples of exactly what this MatrixMixer can do other than the previous use that I showed you regarding sending outs to FX units. This MatrixMixer can provide intermixing between all sorts of signals, audio and CV. And in this case, what we have here are two oscillators, a spectrum and Platts, sending their output, the triangle wave from spectrum and the dual waveform from Platts, into channels 1 and 2 respectively. Now channels 1 and 2 are going out from A and B, and then going back into the FM inputs. So basically what this will do is this will cross-modulate the outputs of each of these modules into each other through its FM input. So you not only get cross-modulation, but you also get self-modulation. Very recursive, almost a feedback type of loop. So let's listen to it. All of this is summed, of course, and coming out of the last output. So this is the spectrum sending us triangle wave out and then back into its own FM input. Now, if I mix this with the output of the Platts back into the FM input of spectrum, you get some great FM effects. Turn up the spectrum going into itself. So now what we have here is spectrum sending a signal out into Platts, into its FM. Platts sending a signal back out and into the FM and spectrum and into each other. So it's a very complex cross-modulation going on. So that's just one example. Let's look at some more. All right, for this last patch, let's get a little crazy, shall we? So let's use the MatrixMixer as a CV mixer. So what I got is an ADSR coming in channel 1. I have channel 2 with an LFO coming in from Spectrum. Channels 3 and 4 each have, damn, what do they have there? They got LFOs coming in there as well. Yeah, coming out of peaks. The LFO, the CV control for the LFO on peaks is then coming out of C. The combined output is going into an ADSR and coming out and going back into the MatrixMixer channel 1. Channel 1. That's the ADSR. Let's see, we got a little proactive coming out here. I got some DivKid mutes, which will enable me to enable pitch control and some other effect. You know what? This is really a mess of a patch, I got to tell you. So I got an octa switch over there, a dope for adder. I got quantizer up there. I got plat speed modulated. I got multis coming out here. Stack cables going into over there and over here and up there and back in there, and I got some of these attention. You know, this is going to demonstrate actually the craziness that you can get with a MatrixMixer with CV. So basically what I have are LFOs, ADSRs coming in, LFOs, ADSRs cross-modulated across each other, coming out, going back into said LFOs, ADSRs, and then modulating the crap out of everything else in here. So oh yeah, I got the AD32 also feeding brains, which is feeding a sequence, which I will start. Anyway, let's just go ahead and give it a listen. Well, that's pretty unexciting sound. So let's add some modulation to that, shall we? yeah, and some reverb.